Because purpose is often birthed in pain. People ask me, Brian, what is my purpose in life? How can I find my purpose in life? Well, here's a hint. Take inventory of your pain. Take inventory of your pain, because purpose is often birthed out of pain. Our mission as a church is to give fresh hope to this generation. And oftentimes I preach about maybe 9 times a week. I preach the gospel about 9 times out of the week. And people ask me, Brian, how are you able to do that? How are you? What is your motivation? Like today, I'm going to preach probably like 5 times. How are you able to do it? I'm going to tell you how I'm able to do it is because my purpose was birthed in my pain. I felt how it feels to be discouraged. I felt how it feels to be broken. I felt how it feels to be depressed. I felt how it feels to be attacked by anxiety. And God delivered me. God saved me. And so I'm on a mission to give back what God gave to me to the world. My purpose was birthed in my pain. My purpose was, I said this before, I'm going to say it again, but I preached to y'all before you even knew I was preaching to y'all. What does that mean? What does that mean? Well, I was preaching in my one-man cell to this little pictures on the wall before y'all even showed up. Why was I preaching? Because my purpose was birthed in my pain. You want to know your purpose? Take inventory of your pain. I use this example a lot. I want to call up Sister Maryann. Come on, Sister. Give it up for Sister Maryann. Give it up for Sister Maryann. Your purpose is birthed in your pain. And God has a greater purpose for your pain. Now listen, I want to be clear on this. I want to be clear. God doesn't manufacture your pain. But while you have it, you might as well let him use it. Are you following along? Sister Maryann's daughter 6 years ago was gunned down in the streets, 20 years old. Somebody shot her with 10 bullets. On the street. She died. I remember Sister Maryann called me up to do the funeral about 6 years ago, right? This one single catastrophe had the potential to send Maryann to the other ends of the world, the other ends of utter darkness. Had the potential. Her daughter was killed. Her daughter was murdered, shot 10 times in the street, and somebody had to come up to her and tell her that news. Somebody had to let her know that her precious daughter was killed. Could have said Maryann. I'm sure it did. It sent her to the utter deepness of darkness. But how many know that God has a greater purpose for pain? Maryann responded to the grace of God, responded to the call of God. In our very first service right here at Chapel of Change, there's a picture somewhere floating around here and on Facebook of the altar call. About 30 people came and responded to the Lord. And if you look at that picture, you'll see Maryann right there, surrendering her pain to God. Surrendering her pain to God. And Maryann began to take one step. One step. We always preach about one step. Just take one step. And she says in her testimony, she says she just showed up. That was her step. I got to say this, Maryann. I'm here on a Friday night. Maryann's our Celebrate Recovery director on Friday night. Celebrate Recovery, right? So she's been leading that because she's taken one step, right? She's taken one step, right? And she leads that along with the small groups. And I don't know, it was about a couple weeks ago, they had a small group upstairs in the far upstairs room. And I'm walking to my car on this other side. And I hear some sister going off. I just hear the sister going off. You got to just show up. You just show up. That's all I did. I just showed up. That's all. I didn't understand it. I just showed up. Every time the door opened, I just showed up. And I was looking, I was like, what is this? Who is that, right? And I kind of put it all together. And it was Maryann preaching at the ladies in the small group. Just got to show up. Just got to show up because God has a greater purpose for your pain. Not too long ago, God birthed a vision in Maryann's heart. Birthed a ministry called Your Pain, Our Pain, His Purpose. That's the vision that God birthed in Maryann's heart. And you know what it's about? God gave Maryann a vision, a mission, to be a ministry that works alongside the first responders, the police, maybe the fire department, that has to come to the family's home and tell them that their relative or family member got killed that night. She wants to be along with the first responders so that she could minister to the family, minister to the mom, and be alongside of them so that they don't have to grieve themselves, but they could have the fresh hope of the gospel. Now here's my question to you. Where do you think she got that idea from? Where do you think that was birthed from? She didn't go to college to get that idea. She didn't read it on no magazine. She didn't just come up with it herself. Her purpose was birthed in her pain. Her purpose was birthed in her pain. So Maryann, the best is yet to come. You keep walking in your pain. You keep walking in your purpose, and God is going to use you mightily. Give it up for Sister Maryann. You want to know your purpose. You want to know your purpose. Take inventory of your pain. I'm going to end with this one last verse from Apostle Paul, because he went through the same situation. Put it up on the screen. Apostle Paul was beaten for the gospel. He was beat up, put in prison, put in chains. This is what he writes as I close. He writes in Philippians chapter 2, verse 10, he says, "Now I want you to know, brothers, that my circumstances," that's the pain, "have actually served to advance the gospel." That's the purpose. That's the purpose. Listen. He's beat up. He's in jail. He's in prison. He has this vision of preaching the gospel around the world, but he's in jail. He has this vision of preaching the gospel around the world, but he's locked up with bruises on him. And everybody's looking at him saying, "Apostle Paul, you must be crazy. You're supposed to be preaching the gospel around the world. Things look bad, Apostle Paul. Everything look bad." But how many of you know when you're in the kingdom of God, you don't look at what is seen. You lean on what you believe. You don't look to what you see. You lean on what you believe, and you better make sure that what you believe is rooted in that word. This is what he says. He says, "Now I want you to know, brothers, that my circumstances," that's the pain, "have actually served to advance the gospel." That's the purpose. You mean to tell me that the very same pain that the devil threw in my life can actually serve a greater purpose? You mean the pain that meant to enslave me to addiction, meant to enslave me to depression, can actually serve me and serve the kingdom of God? Yeah, if you give it to God, that very same thing will make you a better person. People will be looking at you and say, "Man, I thought she should have been strung out already. I thought she should have lost her mind already. I thought she should have been, stuttering already." No. She gave it to God, and God turned it around, and it actually benefited her. She's a better lady today. I can't explain it, but guess what? You can't explain God either. I would not be who I was today if I didn't do 16 years in prison. I would not be who I was today if I didn't suffer what I suffered. I would not be speaking to you today with such conviction and such power if I didn't go through the pain that I went through. But God turned my pain into purpose. Don't be afraid of the pain. Don't waste the pain. And here's the last word. Don't